Commentary on Construction Funny, when the construction site becomes a comedy stage, Part 1/N. Opening remarks, laughter amidst the dust and concrete. Welcome to our special segment, Construction Funny, laughter amidst the dust and concrete. I am your commentator, and today, we will journey across the world, places where caution and seriousness are the rules, but sometimes unexpected situations occur, turning diligent construction workers into unintentional comedic actors. We are not talking about dangerous accidents, but rather moments of horrible misunderstandings, or unique, one-of-a-kind solutions that make the audience burst into laughter. Screen, there's a construction worker with a distinctive yellow vest. He is standing on a temporary wooden platform, likely to reach the right height for pouring the concrete. He looks very confident. Already heavy with materials. On a narrow wooden platform, as the barrow dashes off, he is forced to follow it, awkwardly. Visual. The worker is trying to hold the barrow while stumbling down into sand. A spectacular fall, but not of concrete. Our worker concludes the He immediately jumps up, staring intently at the wheelbarrow as if it were the culprit of the crime. With a look of bewilderment, and look at the reaction of the others. Another worker
Hoy tocó trabajar con el malo tumbando almendras. Visual being installed or a canopy is being repaired. There are two workers and a long aluminum ladder. Alright, ladies and gentlemen. We move on to the next scene, a situation I call trust. This is a performance of the lack of basic physics calculation combined with a touch of overconfidence. You see, there are two workers here. Worker A, supposedly holding the ladder. This aluminum ladder looks a bit shorter than necessary to reach the repair point. But worker A doesn't figure it out
later. Worker A starts climbing with a look of utmost professionalism. He reaches the last rung and realizes away from the canopy. Visual. Worker A begins to tiptoe, leaning forward to reach the edge. And then, the biggest mistake of the day is made. Instead of use a platform, Worker A decides to stretch out to his limit, gripping the edge of the roof. But wait, folks, look down. Where is Worker B? Worker B, holding the ladder, has seized this opportunity to lean against the wall and text on his phone. He is holding the toe, perhaps not holding it at all. Truly the spirit of digital age multitasking. And here, the slow motion transition begins. As Worker A shifts his weight, the unsecure toe slides slightly left
Depende.
After dusting himself off, I will never trust you. Worker B off and
Ya
down.
salah dia dapat.
The
Gula
ladder
tak saya siapa
automatically
dapat salah.
The lesson in this situation, construction
Wah.
and if you are the ladder holder, please hold the ladder. This is a humorous warning about the importance of supervision in recurring spaces. Dramatic way. Total word count, approximate 850 words, cumulative from part 1. Segment excavator and the endless spin. Visual shifts to a vacant lot B.
completely unaware of his swinging passenger, continues to the sound of the red steam passing makes everyone in construction.
There's hundreds.
Even an issue.
Para jumper pimo, hoppa, dood.
Made of thick but not completely waterproof craft paper.
Arriba. Não, cabeça aí! Não vão! Dá uma vez. ठीक है Oh my god.
Great job, man.
Here we go with the fucking barrow. Wow. Tecnologia! 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 Caralho, olha lá, o homem vem de cavalo pra buscar. Caralho!
That's a nice ball right there. Nice ball.
Vamos ver então, hã? Vamos ver.
They have them.
Não, cabeça, aí! No gol! Caiu, caiu!
Dá uma vez.
ठीक है Oh my god.
The entire bucket
아파요.
Great job.
Here we go, with the fucking barrow. Wow! Tecnologia! Tecnologia! Caralho, olha lá, o homem vem de cavalo pra custo, não. Caralho!
Oh, that's a nice ball right there. Nice ball.
Vamos ver então, Vamos ver.
They have them.
Não, cabeça, aí! No gol! Ai, caiu!
Dá uma vez. ठीक है
graceful pirouette in the air, spinning away from the machine. Across the job site in a chaotic, weightless explosion, turning a neatly organized area into a yard sale of white foam and cardboard. The operator slams the brakes, covers his face with his hand, and sinks into his seat, surrounded by the lightweight debris of his own hasty driving. He now faces the miserable task of reloading hundreds of empty boxes, one by one. Commentary: the forklift is a tool for strength, not speed. When driving heavy equipment, remember that inertia is the silent co-pilot. Never treat a pallet of unstable goods like a race car. Segment 47, The Pylon's Revenge, the Unsecured Anchor. This segment addresses the foolishness of securing heavy objects to light ones. I call it the pylon's revenge. A worker needs to hold a rope taut or anchor a temporary barrier. Lacking a heavy anchor point, he spots a convenient, bright orange plastic traffic pylon nearby. He ties his rope firmly around the base of the pylon, believing its wide base provides adequate resistance. He pulls on the rope. The load doesn't move. He pulls harder, leaning back with all his weight. The plastic pylon, having stored the tension, does not break. Instead, it suddenly slides toward him on the smooth concrete floor. The worker, expecting resistance, loses his balance violently as the pylon approaches him at speed. He tumbles backwards, while the plastic pylon, now free from the restraining tension, snaps upright and smashes him lightly on the head as he falls. The pylon rests innocently beside him, having exacted its small, plastic revenge, while the worker lies on the ground, questioning his life choices regarding anchoring points. Commentary: a brightly colored plastic cone is a warning sign, not a structural anchor. When you try to make a light object do a heavy object's job, it will inevitably turn on you and smack you in the face. Segment 48, The Level's Betrayal, the Spirit Bubble Disaster. We conclude Part 5 with a final measuring malfunction, the level's betrayal. This is the moment a worker trusts his eye over his tool. A worker is setting a long, expensive piece of material, perhaps a kitchen countertop or a windowsill. He places his spirit level on the surface. The tiny air bubble in the level shows. The surface is perfectly plumb. He sighs with satisfaction, securing the material in place. Then, a colleague comes over, looks at the work, and casually turns the level 180 degrees end for end. The bubble now rests completely against the edge of the vial, showing the surface is dramatically out of level. The worker is instantly horrified. He realizes his level is broken or miscalibrated, a fundamental flaw he failed to check by simply flipping it over initially. He had been relying on a defective tool to ensure perfection. He is now faced with the time-consuming and difficult task of unsetting the material, realizing that all his previous work, which looked straight to the naked eye, was a technical lie perpetuated by a faulty plastic tool. He stares at the level, wanting to smash it against the wall. Commentary: trust, but verify. A level only tells the truth when you check it twice. Relying on a single reading from a tool that can lie is a recipe for structural heartbreak. The legendary job site, where builders rewrite comedy history, Part 6. Welcome back, connoisseurs of construction chaos. Our journey continues, leaving the realm of heavy machinery errors and entering the delicate, often volatile, world of human psychology and team dynamics. This section explores what happens when communication breaks down, when practical jokes go wrong, and when the simple task of cleaning up proves to be the most destructive action of all. Segment 49, The Misplaced Toolbox, the Psychological Warfare of the Site. We begin with a situation born out of boredom and misplaced ingenuity, which I call the misplaced toolbox. This is classic job site psychological warfare. A worker, let's call him the prankster, decides to play a minor joke on his easily flustered colleague. The colleague steps away for a quick break, leaving his heavy, distinctively colored metal toolbox on the ground. The prankster quickly hoists the toolbox onto the rafters of a partially built ceiling, about 4 meters up. The colleague returns, searches frantically for his toolbox, looking everywhere except up. The prankster and others stifle their laughter as they watch the man descend into genuine panic. He checks the perimeter, accuses imaginary thieves, and begins retracing his steps with the intensity of a private detective. The climax of the joke occurs when the prankster, unable to contain himself, points upward. The victim finally looks up and spots his toolbox, sitting innocently on the beam. His immediate reaction is not relief, but sheer, frustrated rage. He grabs a ladder, climbs up, and instead of carefully carrying the box down, he shoves it off the beam in a fit of pique. The toolbox plummets, hitting a large, plastic bucket of water below, which then tips and splashes an unsuspecting supervisor who was walking by, texting on his phone. Commentary: job site humor is a dangerous game. When a simple prank escalates into supervisor soaking water damage, the joke is truly on the instigator. Every action on a construction site has a destructive chain reaction. Segment 50. The safety harness illusion, overconfidence on the edge. Next, we address the human tendency towards overconfidence, labeled the safety harness illusion. A worker is performing a task high up on a narrow edge, requiring the use of a safety harness clipped to a lifeline. He performs the task flawlessly, but when it's time to descend, he gets frustrated with the slow, tedious process of unhooking and rehooking the harness as he moves. In a moment of supreme, lazy judgment, he unclips the harness entirely, tucks the line away, and decides to walk the remaining 20 feet along the narrow beam without protection, believing his superior balance and experience are his armor. Just as he finishes his task and is about to step onto solid ground, a colleague below shouts a question, causing the exposed worker to turn his head sharply to answer. This slight, sudden shift in his center of gravity causes him to stumble. He doesn't fall, but he performs a terrifying wide-legged, balanced dance, arms windmilling wildly, barely recovering just inches from the edge. The look on his face is not fear, but instant, profound self-recrimination. He immediately fumbles to reclip the harness, his legs now shaking uncontrollably. Commentary: experience is valuable, but it is not a substitute for physics. The moment you believe you are too skilled for a safety measure is the exact moment the universe decides to test your humility.